All right, Brent, here we are, week 17, last bit of football action for 2023, as today is New Year's Eve. So happy New Year's Eve to everybody out there. Happy New Year's Eve to you, Brent. But we have a very, very full slate of football today. We've had the Thursday night game played, the contest between the Jets and the Browns, where we saw Breece Hall snap off, Joe Flacco snap off. The Browns defense went ham. David Njoku went ham. It was just a busy game for a lot of fantasy relevancy. And then we had a contest last night between the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, David Montgomery, St. Brown. There's some more fantasy relevancy in that game. So for a lot of us, week 17 is championship week. A lot of us have got an uphill battle in front of us, Brant. But we have a full slate of football to make our comebacks today.
Yeah, absolutely. The unfortunately, or not unfortunately, I had a family game night last night, so I did miss the ending of that game. I was keeping tabs on it, as I do have St. Brown. That was a crazy game with the Dallas and Detroit game. And then you have another crazy game. What should be a crazy game today in Miami and Baltimore. That's going to be an outstanding game today. To see a lot of fantasy relevancy in that game. One of your most high-powered offense going against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Thursday game was a shocker. It was a shocker to see the fantasy points rack up. And I checked it at halftime as I was out with the kids at the Christmas tournament. Checked it at halftime, and there was already 51 points scored. I was like, what in the world is going on when your over-under was 35.5 to close? And you've got 51 points. It was good. It was good to see. I think Joe Flacco's finally ahead of Hamlin for the comeback player of the year. It was a good week so far.
Yeah, it's been a good week, and like I said, it looks to be even better. We've got a lot of games today with decent projections. I think the lowest one I see is probably the Falcons Bears at 37. Well, Chargers Broncos at 36. With Easton Stick versus Jarrett Stidham. But it's a full day of good football, really, Brant.
Your guys actually went up. I don't know when you grabbed yours. I grabbed mine about 10-15 minutes ago off of DraftKings for the over-under, and I got you guys at 38 now. So you guys have actually gone up a little bit. It should be high-powered points. Lots of playoff indications, I know. Well, I'll just start at the top of the way my games are listed. The Niners, they're already locked in, so that's no big deal. Philly still fighting for that 1 seed with the Niners, so that will be a good one. Atlanta and Chicago. Atlanta is still fighting for their playoff lives. Miami and Baltimore, we know what's going on there. I'll hit a few more here in just a little bit about playoffs indications. We got some questions rolling in. I want to get to those.
Okay. DraftKings or FanDuel actually has the line up to 38.5 now for the Falcons Bears. So there's something going on there that we don't
on the road.
Yep. All right, here we go. Let's get into these, Brant. First one from Mark. Good morning. He says, last question of the season, which is definitely bittersweet to see on the screen, Mark. It's been a fun year. He says, sticking with Kyle Walker versus Pittsburgh or the hot Demarcus Robinson at the Giants and half-point PPR, Brant.
I like Demarcus Robinson this week. I do, but I'm going to go with Walker. Pittsburgh's not as intimidating against running backs. As long as Walker plays, I know he's dealing with an illness, the shoulder stinger, and I think it was the ankle was the other thing I was looking at. As long as he plays, I think I'm riding Walker out there just because Seattle has shown that they trust Walker to be the number one guy.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it right now, Brant, and the Steelers are the 20th best team against the run, so they give up a decent amount of points. The New York Giants are the 26th against the pass, though, so there's plenty of room for both of Walker and Robinson to have good weeks here. The one thing I will say on this one, Mark, is I feel like Kenneth Walker is a very safe play, whereas Robinson's risky. So if you need to chase points, I think you would probably go with Robinson, in my opinion. Whereas if you just need that guaranteed It's Walker. Now, Walker's the safer floor and probably has a decently high ceiling as well, but not as high as potential as a wide receiver. So Walker's probably the play for me just because of the fact that, like Brant said, the Steelers aren't as good as they used to be against the run, or as they typically are against the run. And Kenneth Walker could still find the end zone a time or two as well. So I probably go with him unless you need that huge play out of Robinson. Amy says, good morning and Happy New Year. She said she needs points since Gibbs got her 6 and her opponent had Lamb. So number 1, Scary Terry, Romeo Dobbs, George Pickens, or JSN, Brant.
So if you're chasing points, I'm going with Pickens. The chemistry was there. With Rudolph last week. I think it will be. Seattle is banged up in the secondary right now. So I think the higher ceiling in my mind is actually Pickens. He could go off for another huge game. So I think that's to be chasing points.
She actually says she does need 2. So who was your other one out of that one?
I think I go with Scared. That's Washington, and then I know I don't. Man, I honestly think I go with Dobbs. I just think Dobbs. Yeah, I think I go with Dobbs. Somebody has to catch the ball there to help move the ball down the field. So I think I'm going to go with Dobbs there.
I'm going to agree with you on Pickens. We kind of saw where Pickens' ceiling was last week. Huge game out of him. So I think he's definitely capable of replicating that. And then as far as the others, I think there's one player here that clearly has a higher ceiling than the rest. He's just been very inconsistent this year. And that's Scary Terry. I've faded him a lot in these start-sit questions just because of the fact that he is so inconsistent this year. You don't know which week he's going to blow up, which week he's not. But if you have to get points, I think Scary Terry is probably the best wide receiver on this list at this point with Roll on his team and things of that nature. So I think Scary Terry and Pickens for me, Amy, on that one. As far as the next one, Jamal Williams, Devin Singletary, or Zamir White. She needs 2 of those as well, Brant.
Okay. I think I go with Zamir White. If Josh Jacobs is out, I think I go with Zamir White. I think he's the bell cow there. He'll see all the work. So I like Zamir White against Indy. Indy is actually 3rd worst against the run, so good chance for him to show out what he can do again this week. Which needs 2 of them too.
Yep.
I'm going Singletary. I'm not benching Singletary. So Singletary and Zamir White are my 2. I will move Singletary out if it was just Zamir, but I think I'm going with Singletary and Zamir.
So if Alvin Kamara happens to be ruled out today, which as of right now, I think he's still just questionable. I think he's a game time decision. If he happens to be ruled out prior to the start of the game, Jamal Williams does become intriguing to me at that point. However, if Kamara plays, which, like I said, I think the last I'm seeing is that he's questionable. He's going to be a game time decision. I'm looking that up right now just to make sure. He's expected to be active this week as of like 10 minutes ago. So it's Singletary and Zamir White for me on those 2 as well. There'll be no argument on my end on those 2. And then lastly, Brant, she needs a defense. She's got the Rams. She's got the Houston Texans, the Pittsburgh Steelers, or the Vegas Raiders.
I think I'm going with Houston. I think Houston's going to jump all over Tennessee with Stroud back. And Singletary being healthy. So I think they jump all over them and they force them to throw, and I think they commit some turnovers. So I'm actually going to go with Houston here.
I think I'm going to go with the Rams against Tyrod Taylor. I know he came in and looked great in that last, couple quarter action there that he had. I just don't know how that holds up. We've had a couple different quarterbacks look like great flashes in the pans for the Giants this year, and then they sizzle out pretty quick. So I'm going to go with the Rams defense against the Giants. All right, Bill says Derek Carr against the Buccaneers or Tua against the Ravens.
I'm going with Carr. I'm not trusting Miami right now, and I hate to say this because I am relying on Tyreek Hill in one of my matchups this week. But with no weapons there, no Mostert there, they can really key in on Hill and Tua. So I think I go with Carr here.
Waddle's has been ruled out as well, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Tua is still the higher ceiling play in my mind, Brant, just because it's one of those you get the ball into his hands or into Tyreek's hands and he could do the rest. Tyreek or Tua could have a 300-yard game just by passing screens to Tyreek. So that's tough for me. Devon Achan's back as well, fully healthy, so I expect him to get a decent workload today. But between him and Jeff Wilson Jr., they should be able to move the ball in the run game. I still think I have to go Tua just because I think he's the safer play. Carr's been wishy-washy at best all season. So I do think I go with Tua against the Baltimore defense. There is no Kyle Hamilton at Baltimore secondary, which is a massive loss for Baltimore as well. So I do think that kind of evens the playing field a little bit. So I think I go Tua. Jennifer says full point PPR, Kyler or Fields for the quarterback. And then there's a tight end question we'll get into in just a second. So you've got Kyler against against the Eagles, and then Justin Fields against my Atlanta Falcons.
Unfortunately, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray here. I know he doesn't have a whole lot of people to pass to, but with his legs and the Eagles being one of the worst secondaries in football right now, I think I go giving up a lot of yards. I think I'm going to go with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, so I think I'm going Kyler here as well. Marquise Brown going to the IR makes this a little interesting for me, especially with Fields being from Atlanta. The rumors potentially that he may be in Atlanta next year. I could see Fields having a really good game, but it's so easy to pass on the Cardinals. It's a little harder on the Eagles. It's a little harder to pass on the Falcons this year. So I think I do go with Kyler as well. And then for the other part of the question, Brant, Cole Kmet or Gerald Everett, before you answer that, keep in mind Cole Kmet is a true game time decision. He's going to test his knee out before the game starts.
As of right now, I think I'm going with Everett because I believe Palmer and Allen. Yep, Palmer and Allen are both out tonight. So who's catching the ball? Drops McGee, Quentin Johnston, or Gerald Everett? I think I'm going to start Everett there as my tight end.
Okay, I roll with Gerald Everett on that one too, mainly because the problem with Cole Kmet is if he's a true game time decision, he's testing that knee out. Let's say he feels okay in pregame warm-ups, and then he goes and catches a 5-yard, in route and gets hit at the knees. Mm-hmm. How much more do I see out of him? That makes me a little nervous, so I'm going to go ahead and roll with Gerald Everett as well. Daniel says, Demarcus Robinson or Noah Brown, Brant?
I think I go with Demarcus Robinson. I do have him. I'm going to talk about later, but I do like the matchup there. Plenty of opportunities to throw the ball over the place. So I think I go with Demarcus Robinson.
This is interesting for me because I really like the Houston Texans offense with CJ Stroud back. But Robinson's been riding such a hot hand here. I'm gonna take Noah Brown. I think Kyler comes back, or CJ Stroud comes back and just goes right back to where he left off. Give me Brown.
Okay, I don't hate it.
Daniel says Pacheco, Walker, or Gus. Pick one to sit, Grant.
That is tough. That's real tough. Since he's pretty susceptible to the run, about middle of the road, I think I'm sitting Gus just because I don't think Gus is really the true in between the 20s guy. So I think I'm actually going to sit Gus on this one.
Yeah, Pacheco has cleared concussions, so he should be good to go. You've got Jerick McKinnon on the IR, so it's really just CEH and Pacheco. They're going to give the ball a decent amount to Pacheco. So I think I sit Gus as well on this one. He follows it up by saying, who's the defense to stream this week, Brant? Is there one defense you're just loving this week?
I mean, you hit it on with the Rams. I think that they have a good opportunity to be one. But the one that I actually am loving is the Houston Texans. They're going against the Carolina Panthers. No.
Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee Titans. I just feel like that they're going to come out and they're going to force Tennessee to throw and cause a few turnovers. So I do like Tennessee. I do like Houston's defense this week. Man, I am stuttering already.
You want to know a sneaky play this week, Brant? A sneaky play this week would be the Carolina Panthers defense. They have a good pass rush with Brian Burns, good linebacking core with Frankie Louvu, good corners, J.C. Horn. And they're playing a backup quarterback in Jacksonville as well, with C.J. Beathard playing there this week. So that's a sneaky stream defense that may be worth picking up and playing as well. Zach says, pick 2 in PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. D-Hop versus the Houston Texans, Higgins versus Kansas City, Eckler versus Denver, or Zamir White versus Indy, Brant. So you got to pick 2 of these players.
Man, that's tough because Eckler's been so wishy-washy in that offense. So that's really scary to start him. And Denver's been pretty decent. I got to pick 2 of these. I'm going to take Higgins for Kansas City. I don't think they try to push Jamar too much, so I still think he could end up being the number 1 there. So I'm going to go with Higgins there. And I think I'm going with my gut. I think I'm going with Zamir White for my second one, just because I think that he could be in for a huge game against Indy.
Okay. So I'm going to go with D-Hop against the Houston Texans. That list of player incentives came out this week that was that these guys are close to, and D-Hop's close to like $500K in bonus incentives with receptions as well as yards. So I think he goes off this week. So I'm going to take D-Hop, and then I'm actually going to roll with Eckler. Eckler's another one that's chasing. He's 2 touchdowns away from a bonus, and he's like 100 total yards away from the line of scrimmage away from a bonus. So I just think these guys have some incentive to play. I think there's going to be some motivation. They're actually going to go out and give it a full bore tilt. So I like D-Hop and I like Eckler. So you and I are absolutely split on that one, Brant.
Okay.
Bill says Mostert is out. So should he go with Zamir White or Devin Singletary?
I think I go with Zamir White here. I'm probably going to get kicked in the butt here for being all high on Zamir White, but I like his matchup. I like the fact that Jacobs is out. So I think I'm going to go with White.
Yeah. It's probably Zamir White without Jacobs. The Colts are pretty bad against the run this year, whereas the Titans are pretty good against the run. I just really like what Singletary is bringing to the table right now. I'll roll with you on this one, Brant. I'm going to say Zamir White. All right, here we go again. Matthew says Zamir White, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Bijan Robinson. He says pick 2.
That is rough. Zamir, I do like. We've already talked about Jonathan Taylor as the brand Raiders. Cook as New England. Who's the other one? Bijan. Man, that is tough. I'm going with. You know what? You're in the championship. I got to go with it. I'm going with James Cook. He needs 2, not 3. Give me James Cook and Jonathan Taylor.
Okay. I'm actually going to go with Jonathan Taylor and Bijan Robinson. The Chicago Bears are the 25th worst team against the run, or giving up they're bad against the run is what I'm trying to say here, Brant. So I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson. James Cook has been so good lately. It's tough to say, but the Patriots are slightly better against the run. The passing games looked meh at best here recently, with the Bills. Stephon Diggs is struggling. Dalton Kincaid struggling. I could see Bill Belichick taking James Cook out of this game. So I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor and Bijan Robinson. I think those two both have big touchdown equity. So the upside for touchdowns there with those two. That's where I'm at. Jonathan. So Taylor, we're the same on, and we're just split on Cook and Bijan. To be fair, though, out of these 4, Zamir White would be the first one out for me. So I'd have no ill wills against James Cook starting if you go that way, Matthew. Jennifer says, Jaden Reed, Demario Douglas, Drake London, or Quentin Johnston, pick 2 in full point PPR.
Man, I hate to bench. Let's pull this up real fast while this loads up. The Bears are pretty stout against the pass, looks like. Give me Quentin Johnston just because somebody has to catch the ball there. And I think I'm going to go with London. Give me Johnston and London. I think those are the 2 I'm going to go with.
Okay, so initially I wanted to say Quentin Johnston here as well, Brant, because somebody does have to catch the ball, but it's probably not going to be the one healthy weapon that Patrick Surtain has to worry about covering. So that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
And the Broncos are top 5 against the pass right now. So I'm actually going to go with Drake London and Demario Douglas. If the Bills offense does get rolling and the Patriots have to pass, Demario Douglas has been one of the, he's been a breath of fresh air there in New England. So I like Demario Douglas and Drake London in this one.
Okay.
Do you change your mind at all?
I do. I'm sticking with London, and I think I'm going to go with Douglas as well here, just because I feel like they're going to be playing from behind.
Holy heck! It may be the last time we do this in this 2023 calendar year, but we agreed on one there, Brant. All right, Matthew says he's also torn between Mixon and Achane in another league.
The Ravens are so good against the run. I was hesitant on even starting Mostert as the number 2 running back in fantasy, so there's no way I'm rolling Achane out there. I'm going to go with Mixon. He sees passing volume. I know Chase Brown has been picking into there, but I think I still have to roll out Mixon there.
Yeah, I'm going to go Mixon as well. The Chiefs are also pretty good against the run, but not as good as the Ravens. So I'm going to go with Mixon as well, Brant. Paul says, morning, I need 2 for a wide receiver between DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, and an injured Jamar Chase. He said the championship is on the line.
So if Chase plays, I think I do go with Chase here because I think they'll be playing a pass-happy game to play catch-up with Kansas City. Obviously, if he doesn't play, I'm going DJ Moore and DK Metcalf. That makes it a lot easier. But I'm going with DK and Chase here.
So here's the problem that I think you get into is if you put all your eggs in that Jamar Chase basket and he doesn't play, you'll have missed the opportunity to play DJ Moore. So I think you have to put DJ Moore in. And then Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf is the pivot there. And if DJ Moore gets you a comfortable amount of points, I think you then stay with DK Metcalf. If DJ Moore comes out against AJ Terrell and has a bad week and you need the boom play, then you have to go Jamar Chase if he plays. DJ Moore is kind of known for torching the Falcons, though, so I don't think I sit him. He did it a lot in his time in Carolina. So as much of a DJ Moore fan as I'm not, I think you can't not play him because the wide receivers that I imagine you'd be able to pivot to after a Jamar Chase out designation comes out will not be nearly as good as DJ Moore. So there you go. Chris says, I need help with running back 2 and wide receiver 2 and his flex. His options are, he has Raheem Mostert there, but Raheem's been ruled out. So he's got Zeke Elliott, Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Walker, Najee Harris, Jamar Chase, and George Pickens. So you need 1 wide receiver, which it looks like it has to be Jamar Chase or Pickens there. And then a running back 2 and a flex, Brant. So where are you at with this?
Running back 2, I'm going with Barkley. My wide receiver 2, I'm going with Chase if he's healthy. If not, you get the pivot with Pickens. Is Stevenson ruled in or out for New England?
I believe he's out. I believe he's on the IR, is he not?
I believe you're right. Yes, he's on the IR. So Elliott's going to be my flex. He's been great starting for him. So I think I go with Elliott, Barkley, and I think I go with Chase as my safe play. Pickens as my pivot if Chase doesn't play.
Okay. So I'm on board with the Chase as a wide receiver 2, and then move to Pickens if Chase is ruled out. For running back, I'm torn here. Saquon Barkley is the obvious must start for me. I'm torn between Zeke Elliott and Najee Harris, Brant. I think both of these guys have a chance to find the end zone this week. I just worry that if New England gets behind too early, too often, is Zeke then nullified? I'm going to say that Bill Belichick leans on the run game to keep the ball out of the Bills' hands, though. So I'm going to go with Zeke Elliott and Saquon Barkley here, Brant.
Okay.
All right. Amy says Calvin Ridley, Jalen Reed, or Tyler Lockett in PPR.
Man, I really want to say Ridley, but I feel like they're going to lean on ETN a lot today with the backup quarterback against one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. I think I'm still going to go with Ridley. I think I go with Ridley.
I think I'm going Reed on this one, Brant. Obviously because neither one of us picked him. Tyler Lockett's going to have the best game. But Reed, like you said, somebody's got to catch the ball there. Jordan Love's playing in a divisional game Sunday night, championship week. It gives you all the leverage of holding out hope there. So I do go with Jalen Reed with Jordan Love. No Christian Watson again. I think I'm leaning Reed. Ridley would be the one for me if Trevor Lawrence was playing, but since he's not, I'm going to go with Reed. All right. Jan says, hey, guys, Tajay Spears, Jalen Warren, or Chuba Hubbard. All right. So let's start with that, and then we'll get into the next part of this. So you've got Spears against the Texans, Warren against your Seahawks, Brant, or Chuba Hubbard against the Jaguars.
I'm going with Tajay Spears. I'm going with what I'll talk about here in a little bit. I think Houston and that offense gets a rolling quick, gets up on them quick. So Derrick Henry becomes out. Tajay becomes the pass catching back there. So I am actually going with Tajay Spears. I expect him to fill in quite a bit of snaps this week. So I like Tajay.
Okay. I'm just checking to kind of confirm this, but yeah, the Jaguars are bottom half of the league against the run, so I think I actually go Chuba just based on volume. I think he gets the lion's share, whereas I think Warren and Spears are barking up Henry and Najee's backsides in order there. But I think just based on volume, I'm going to go Chuba with the Jacksonville Jaguars not being great against the run. I don't expect the Jaguars to pull away from the Panthers in this game. I think they'll be able to stay relevant and do what they want on offense. Whereas I could see the Titans getting down early to the Texans, and it depends on what Seahawks team we have. If it's the one where DK is clocking a 23-mile-an-hour run to the end zone, I'm not sure that the Steelers stay with them offensively either. So I like the team that's going to have the chance to run the most, and that's the Panthers in my opinion. And then moving on, pick 2, Devontae Adams, George Pickens, DJ Chark, Scary Terry, Demarcus Robinson.
Devontae Adams in my mind is a must start. I know he had a rough week last week, but I still can't bench him. So my second one, I think I go with Pickens there as my second one. I think I go with Adams and Pickens here.
I'm going to go Devontae Adams and Scary Terry. I know the 49ers defense is scary, but Jacoby Brissett's under center this week. Things should be a little bit better there. So I think I'm going to go with Scary Terry.
I think actually Brissett just a few, maybe late last night. I think he got ruled at Sam Howell. Yeah, he's expected to start this week because Jacoby Brissett tweaked something in practice. Really? So Sam Howell is actually supposed to be back under center. I know that earlier this week it had changed. I think it was late last night it came across that Jacoby is not going to be playing. So
that may change things for me then. Let me go back to that question here. Nah, it doesn't change anything for me. Give me Scary Terry.
All right.
Amy says flex Calvin Ridley, Tajay Spears, or Zay Flowers, Brant.
Man, if Miami was completely healthy, I would say Zay Flowers just because I think this game could turn into a shootout. But with them being so banged up, I think he might not see that many targets. You know what? I'm going to go with Zay Flowers. This game has the potential to turn into a shootout. Tyreek Hill is still on the field, so give me Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers. All right, she says last one. She's in 3 championships. Thanks for your help. Javonte Williams or Devin Singletary, Brant?
It's Singletary for me. I don't trust that Denver backfield quite yet. I don't trust the Denver offense. They got who knows who at quarterback. So yeah, I think I'm going with Singletary.
Jarrett Stidham under center. So yeah, I'm going to go Singletary as well. Tony says, who would you start, Drake London or Jalen Reed, Brant?
I think I'm going with London here. I like London this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with London too. I kind of got to. I'm repping the jersey. So Patrick says full point PPR: Demario Douglas versus Buffalo or Demarcus Robinson versus the Giants.
I'm actually going to go with Douglas here as well, with the fact that they could be getting far behind Buffalo. I do expect a good week from Robinson, but I'm going to go with Douglas here.
You know, Patrick, the funny part about this is really goes to show you the evolution of fantasy football from the start of the draft season to now. If you'd have told me I was going to answer this question in championship week for somebody between Demario Douglas and Demarcus Robinson, I'd have told you that I felt really bad that this player had to make this decision in their toilet bowl championship. But here it is, and both of these players are extremely fantasy relevant here in week 17. But I think I'm going to go with Douglas as well. I just think that there's too big of a chance that the Patriots get playing from behind and have to do a decent amount of passing. So I'll go Douglas. Callan says half point PPR, start 2 of Brandon Ayuk, Jonathan Taylor, or James Cook, Brant.
Taylor. I think I'm starting Taylor is my must start for me. I think I go Ayuk. I think Brock Purdy has a huge bounce back this week, and I think Ayuk is going to help out with that. So give me Taylor and Ayuk.
I'm cool with that. I don't think you get Callan. I don't think any of these 3 are bad starts this week. Ayuk's probably got the home run ability here out of the 3. Jonathan Taylor, I like touchdown equity this week. So I'm gonna go with the same as Brant. But again, James Cook as a start doesn't bother me in the slightest this week.
Not at all.
Tony says down 65 with his opponent having Jerome Ford and CeeDee Lamb. Which duo should I play to try to catch up? Jonathan Allen and James Cook, or Purdy and CMC?
I mean, I want Josh Allen and CMC. But no, I go with Purdy and CMC. I think Purdy, and if you have to go with the stack, I think I'm going Purdy and CMC because I think Purdy is due for a bounce back in CMC. So CMC could outscore Allen and Cook by himself. So I'm going to go with Purdy and CMC.
Yeah, I'm in agreement here, Tony. I think you want to go Josh Allen and CMC, but I'm you're talking about the number 1 overall player in fantasy and CMC and the number 1 overall quarterback in fantasy and Josh Allen. If I have to pick one and it's just like you said, one stack and I can't possibly play both, it's got to be Purdy and CMC just because I'd much rather have CMC than Cook, and Purdy and Allen are probably a lot closer than Cook and CMC. So I guess give me the Niners stack if I have to play it that way. I'd prefer not to. Todd says, morning boys, Barkley, Chandler, Connor, or Cook. Pick 2, Brant.
It's my 1 here. Let's see. So I think I want to fade Connor. I think I'm going to go with Barkley and Cook on that one.
Agreed. Barkley and Cook, as long as it's James Cook. If it's Dalvin Cook, well, Dalvin Cook's already played. So, yeah, James Cook and Saquon Barkley. And then the second question is pick 3, George Pickens, Stephon Diggs, Rashee Rice, Drake London, and Deebo Samuel.
I'm going to regret this, but I think you have to start Diggs. He has to bounce back at some point. He's too good not to. So I think you have to start Diggs. Rice is a start for me as well. And the third one is Deebo. I think I go with Diggs, Rice, and Deebo on that.
Yep, complete agreement here. Diggs is a must start just based on what his ceiling is. I know it's been a little bit of a down year for Stephon Diggs, but you can't have him on your bench in the championship week. Rashee Rice has earned the right to be a must start. He has become Patrick Mahomes' number 1 target over Travis Kelce here in the second half of this season. And then Brant and I are both kind of in agreement that Brock Purdy bounces back in a decent way this week. So that means Deebo Samuel is also in agreement here between the two of us, Brant. All right, here we go. Sherman says Geno Smith or Derek Carr.
So both defenses that they play are top 15 against the quarterback in fantasy points allowed. So now it comes down to who scores, what team can pass more. And we got Geno and Carr. I am going to go with Derek Carr again. I think I am. I think that game stays closer. I think it's really close on both ends. I just think there's more points scored in that Raiders Indy game, so I think I go with Carr.
I can't do it. I got to go with Geno, with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and JSN. Whereas Derek Carr's got Chris Olave and Juwan Johnson, possibly no Alvin Kamara. So I'm going Geno here. I just anytime I've had to play Geno, it's worked out well for me, Brant. So I'm going to roll with Geno here over Derek Carr.
I just don't trust him still.
If it would have been Drew Lock, you'd have picked him. Yep. Ryan says pick 2 between Etienne, Swift, and Z White.
Etienne is a must start. I think he has one of his best weeks this week going against that Carolina defense and a backup quarterback. So Etienne is not going anywhere for me. Oh, man. So then it comes down to Swift and White. Swift has Arizona. And then I've talked about White quite a bit. I think I lean with Swift. Arizona is bottom 3 against the run for fantasy, so I think I'm going with Swift and Etienne.
Yep, same Swift and Etienne here on this one, Ryan. And then he likes the first 2, but I'm already rolling with A.J. Brown and Goddard.
It's fine to roll with that Philly offense. It got me a championship last year and a third place game this year. Just don't worry about the Philly offense; they'll be fine.
Yeah, and I especially like it when he adds that his opponent has Hurts at quarterback, so you're stealing points from his quarterback essentially.
And the second highest scoring game by Vegas odds too, without the number 1 receiver on the other side of the ball, with Marquise Brown. So they're expecting Philly to hang up pretty much over half of those 48 points.
Yeah. All right, Kyle says Evan Ingram or KJ Osborne in the flex. So first, do you have a preference there?
I think I go with Is Addison out?
I believe so. I'm double checking that currently as we speak. He is questionable. Actually, on track to play is the latest update.
So you got Addison and Jefferson both playing. I think I go with Evan Ingram. He's been so good this year. I know Lawrence is out, but I think I have to go with Ingram. If either Jefferson or Osborne, oh my goodness, that's Monday or Sunday night. Yeah, I'm going with Evan Ingram here.
Yeah, Evan Ingram has had the last 4 weeks, Brant. Well, let's even take it back 5 weeks. He's been tight end 10, tight end 2, tight end 1, down week in week 15 against the Baltimore Ravens, tight end 26, and then bounced back last week with a tight end 3 performance. So he's definitely earned the right to be on the lineup this week. So I'm going to go Evan Ingram as well. And then Curtis Samuel or Jordan Addison, wide receiver.
And I'm going with Addison on that one. Oh, man, but Sam Howell's throwing the ball. We did just go over that, but it's still the Niners. Yeah, I'm going with Addison. I'm going holding on Monday Hope. If this is all in the same league, then you have the pivot to KJ Osborne if Addison does happen to sit. So I'm going to go with Ingram in my flex, and I'm going to go with Addison as my wide receiver and give me that pivot option with Osborne and Addison.
Yeah, I think you and I are in agreement on this one. It's Addison if he's healthy enough to play, and Ingram at flex. Ingram's earned the right. All right, Bob says PPR, flex Noah Brown or T. Higgins.
I go with T. Higgins.
I wish I knew for sure Jamar Chase wasn't going to play, Brant. Because I really like Brown with Stroud back. Give me T. Higgins, though. No sense in getting over cute with it here. Give me T. Higgins. Bill says PPR, pick one. Rashid Shaheed, Demario Douglas, or Demarcus Robinson.
I think I go with Douglas here. Like you said earlier, I think they get from behind, so I think Douglas could be in store for a huge game.
Yeah, I like Douglas as well. We've picked him a lot, which makes me nervous, so we'll see. But I do like him this week for no reason other than I just think it makes too much sense. All right, Tony says flex T. Higgins or Jalen Reed, Brant.
I think I still go with Higgins here.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement here. I think I probably lean Higgins too. Reed would be awful nice to have for that Sunday night contest, but I think I'm going to agree on Higgins. Darren says, gents, thanks for the advice this season. Wishing you and yours a happy new year. One last chip question. He says, Higgins, McLaurin, or Deontay Johnson in the flex?
I think I still go with Higgins here. I don't like McLaurin with Sam Howell. He just doesn't look his way as much. So I think I go with Higgins. And Deontay Johnson didn't do much with Rudolph last week. It was all Pickens. So I think I go with Higgins.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with T here as well, Brant. Scary Terry, I think I had a feeling on him. But then Jacoby Brissett's out probably. And then Deontay Johnson. If this was last year's Deontay Johnson, I'm picking him, but it's not. It's this year's, and it's not been great. So I'm going to go with T. Higgins as well. We'll see if Jamar Chase plays. That changes things a little bit, but I still think I go T. Higgins. All right, let's get into this underdog plays of the week, Brant. It's time. We've got a breaking question. Let's see what we can get into here.
All righty.
All right, I'm going to apologize in advance. Somebody just rang the doorbell here at the house, so if the dogs start going nuts, I'm going to have to mute myself. I don't want to drown everybody out with the barks of a couple pit bulls here. So, all right, Brent, why don't you go ahead and take us away with your underdog plays of the week?
Okay, I'm going to go with the first one is Demarcus Robinson, higher than 32.5 receiving yards. He's been on a good tear. They play the Washington Commanders, who give up almost 200 yards receiving. So I like him to go over 32.5 receiving yards. Then I got Brock Purdy to go higher than 2 passing touchdowns. I think he's due for a huge bounce back after a rough week against the Ravens. So I expect him to get back on track. And I'll tell you who I think those 2 touchdowns will go to here in just a minute when we talk about our touchdown scores. Then I'm going to go with Greg Dortch to go higher than 31.5 receiving yards. Somebody has to catch that ball there. I know Trey McBride will do it, but he can't be the only one to do it. So I'm going to go with Dortch. Then I'm going with Derrick Henry, lower than 65.5 total yards. I don't think he gets on the field a whole lot because I think that they jump all over them. And I like that Houston offense this week. And last time he played Houston, they beat him up. So I'm taking him lower than 65.5 total yards.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to start with a guy we've talked about a little bit, but a game we've talked about a whole lot. I'm going to start with Zeke Elliott to go higher than 40.5 rushing yards. Like I alluded, I think this is a game that could get away from the Patriots early. I think Bill Belichick tries to combat that by using his running game to his advantage. I think they run the ball early and often. I like Zeke for over or higher than 40 rushing yards, Brant. Another one I've talked about already, DeAndre Hopkins. He's got some incentives on the line. I think he goes higher than 63.5 receiving yards, especially if the game script goes the way you think it will with Texans getting out to an early lead. I've got Christian McCaffrey higher than 31.5 receiving yards. Brock Purdy bounces back in a big way. I think they build his confidence back up a little bit with some early passes to his extremely talented running back out of the backfield. So I'm going to take him for higher than 31.5 receiving yards. And then Kyler Murray, I've got to go for higher than 27.5 rushing yards against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he runs away from, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and makes their size a disadvantage with his speed. And then as a little bonus tease, Brant, I threw in Drake London to have higher than 3.5 receptions, which I know is extremely risky this year with Desmond Ridder throwing the ball, but we've got Taylor Heineke under center again. The offense looked a little more fluid last week. Let's see if we can ride the hot hand and get Taylor Heineke to get some of these guys the ball here. So there you go. There's the underdog plays of the week for the Fatboyz. Let's jump back into these questions, Brant. We'll get our touchdown scores out here in about 5 minutes.
All righty.
Jumbo says, would you start any of these over Walker and Ridley, Pickens or JSN?
Walker will stay in my lineup just because I know that they will use him. I'm going to assume that you need safe, so I'm going to keep Walker safe to me as long as he plays. And if he doesn't, hopefully this is in your flex and you could pivot to JSN. I think maybe I start Pickens over Ridley, but I'm not mad about the Ridley start either. So I think maybe Pickens, but I'm not mad about those two. I do like Walker and Ridley.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Walker as well. And then I just don't trust that Jaguars passing game with CJ Beathard under center, Brant. So I think I'm going to go with George Pickens here. I liked what I saw out of Rudolph last week. So let's go with Pickens and Walker here.
Okay.
Amy says, I lied and I have one more. Tua or Kyler?
I ain't mad about you lying. That's all right to have one more here. I like this one too. I'm going to go with Kyler. I think he has to use his feet quite a bit. I think Trey McBride should be in for a good game. And I'm kind of fading Tua a little bit just because he doesn't have as many weapons at his arsenal as he normally does. So I think I'm going to go with Kyler here.
I don't dislike this one either. And Amy, again, it's okay. You've kept me and Brant from having to just stare at each other and talk here. So I think for me this one's a toss up. I could go either way. Kyler doesn't have Marquise Brown. He does have Trey McBride. He does have Rondale Moore. He does have Greg Dortch, who I know you like a little bit there, Brant. But Tua's got Tyreek Hill, and that's still a heck of a lot better than anything Kyler's got. So I'm going to go with Tyreek. With Tua. I know Mike McDaniel is going to want to go out and show that his team's good enough to compete in the playoffs, and you're going to have to want to stay with a team like Baltimore. You can't get blown out if you're going to think you have a chance. So I'm going to go with Tua myself here.
Okay.
And then Michael says, sit one, Singletary, Etienne, Achane, or Pacheco.
I'm sitting Achane. Baltimore's too good. Like I said, I was already hesitant on Mostert. So I'm taking Achane out. I do see you just added with that being standard. I still think all three of the other ones have a better chance of finding the end zone than Achane. And honestly, inside the 10, I think you're going to see Jeff Wilson take over that Mostert goal line work. So I think all three of the other ones are better than Achane for touchdown upside.
Yeah, Pacheco and Etienne are the two guys that I think have the highest touchdown upside out of this group. And then Singletary could have a huge amount of yards in standard scoring. So I think Achane does stay out for me as well. But man, he's so fast, Brant, that one play he could have more yards than the rest of these guys too. So here's what I'm going to do, Brant. If I have to sit one, I'm going to sit Devin Singletary in this one, and here's why. I think ETN and Pacheco are both safer. So there's my safety plays. I get good points out of those guys. And then my home run play, A-Chain has bigger home run upside in standard scoring than Devin Singletary. So I'm actually going to go with ETN, A-Chain, and Pacheco just to get that one home run play in with 3 safe ones. I don't necessarily feel great about A-Chan, but it is a way to get those touchdowns that stealing play in there.
Okay.
All right, Brent. Speaking of ceiling plays and touchdown equity, who do you have this week to score touchdowns?
Well, I said I expect Brock Purdy to throw for higher than 2. So I think he throws 1 to Debo, and I think he throws 1 to Ayuk. So those are 2 of mine. And then Zamir White, I think, finds the end zone. I like his upside this week. And then going with the guy that I've loved coming out of college. He hasn't lived up to his hype. He has 1 touchdown on the year. I think he gets his second today, and that's Rashad Bateman in the game against the Miami Dolphins. So I'm going with Bateman.
Okay. I've got Najee Harris to score a touchdown against your Seattle Seahawks. I think it's one of the only ways that the Steelers stay in the game is if they get down to the goal line and run the ball. I've got Travis Etienne to find the end zone again today. You expect a huge game for him. I think he has a good game as well. Jonathan Taylor is kind of my touchdown lock this week. I really think he gets a good weekend here. Championship week definitely helps some fantasy owners out who drafted him in the first round and haven't seen returns. And then my favorite one of the week, Brant, this one's the biggest odds for money-wise, Hunter Henry to find the end zone in that New England game. Again, I think they play from behind. I think they're passing a decent amount. I think you see Hunter Henry find the end zone. All right, here we go. Back into the questions we go, Brant. Jumbo says, Happy New Year's, gentlemen. Thanks for your dedication to helping the masses with their lineup decisions. One last question for you. Are we rolling with Chinese food, pizza, or just drinks tonight, Brant?
So I actually am celebrating my anniversary tomorrow, but we go to dinner tonight before we go to our New Year's festivities. So we're actually going to go out to eat, try a new restaurant here in town. But then tonight for the New Year's Eve party and the Sunday night game, we will have one of our friends went out and picked up a Chick-fil-A nugget platter, I guess. Didn't even know they did those, so I'll be snacking on nuggies all night from Chick-fil-A. Yeah, I know they're probably a day old, but guess what? They're still nuggies. So I'll be snacking on some nuggies and drinks tonight.
Okay. So, Jumbo, to answer your question for me, I've got pizza on the menu for lunch, and then we're actually doing a prime rib dinner at my father-in-law's house tonight. We're going to spend the entire day at the in-laws. My Atlanta Falcons play my father-in-law's Chicago Bears. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I'm still married at the end of the day, but there will be a healthy amount of drinks consumed today as well, I imagine. Anytime I get together with the in-laws, it's usually a pretty loose setting and good food and good times, good football. So that's what's on the menu for me today. Can't go wrong with free prime rib, you know?
Right. Absolutely not.
Okay, Brent. So obviously today's going to be a little bit weird because we have a lot of noon games today, only a few afternoon games, and then we have the Sunday night contest between the Packers and Vikings. So what are you watching on the noon slate? What are you watching on the 3 o'clock slate?
Well, the noon slate, my eyes will be glued to the Miami and Baltimore game. I can't get my mind off of it. I think it's going to be an amazing game. You get a great defense versus a great offense. So I expect that game to be very fun to watch. So I will be glued pretty much to that game.
Okay. Obviously, I'm going to be at Falcons Bears just because that's the one that's the rooting interests for both parties that I'm going to be with today. But if it was to be another game that I was going to be interested in, I actually think that Panthers Jaguars game is going to be pretty interesting. I think you might see a decent little game out of Bryce Young today. Like I said, I think the Panthers are able to stay with that team all day, run the ball the way they like. I think you might see a really good game out of Chuba Hubbard and Travis Etienne there, Brent.
Okay, absolutely. Lock locking in all of our touchdown scorers real fast. So, and as for the afternoon games, I'm locking in. I'm watching my Seahawks. A win puts us up at like 90% chance to make the playoffs. We're at home against Mason Rudolph. I will be locked into that game with probably my wife in the background yelling at me, it's time to go eat about the fourth quarter. But I will be locked into my game watching that Seahawks game.
Okay. I imagine I'll have my eye on the same contest that most of America will with the Bengals and Chiefs. Not nearly as good of a game as it was expected to be when the schedule makers put it out. But I'll have my eye on that one. But I just have a feeling I'm going to end up watching the Chargers versus Broncos game. My brother-in-law, who's also going to be at the New Year's festivities, is a avid Broncos fan, so I could see that game being put on. I might have to watch the Chiefs and Bengals on my cell phone, so I'll be sure to get my charger there with us. So, but some good contests for sure. Michael says, thank you, gents. Enjoyed watching you all this year. Got one more for you in standard. Tough choices with injuries. Jerry Jeudy or DJ Chark?
Give me 1 second on that. Yeah, I'm going with Jeudy. Sutton's been ruled out. Give me Jeudy. Somebody's got to catch that football. I understand it's not coming from Russ, so it might even be better. So give me Jeudy.
Yeah, it's probably Jeudy as well for me, just because I think Chark falls third on the pecking order in Carolina. I like Jonathan Mingo a little bit more than him right now, and I like Thielen more than him still. So I think I also go with Jerry Jeudy. I just don't necessarily love anybody catching passes from Jarrett Stidham. It's not really ever worked out great anytime we've seen Stidham in the NFL. So I say it with out a whole lot of confidence, but yeah, I think you go Jerry Jeudy here, Michael. I think that he's going to have more opportunity to put up yards. So just for that simple reason, I don't love it, but for that simple reason, I think you go with Jerry Jeudy.
I'm laughing at that game. That who's catching the ball on either side? You got Quentin Johnston being the number one for the Chargers with Easton Stick throwing the ball. And then you got Jeudy, who was huge coming out of college, supposed to be one of the best catching passes from Stidham. Man, that's going to be an ugly contest there this afternoon. And watch, it's going to turn out to be the highest scoring game on the day, though. It's going to turn.
I don't think that'd shock anybody.
It's going to turn into some slugfest, shootout. Both quarterbacks throwing for 300 plus yards, running backs going for $150. But that game could turn ugly, and it could turn ugly really, really quick.
Absolutely. So, Brent, I think we got a couple seconds here. I want to say to all of you who have tuned in for us with these 17 weeks of football, thank you for getting on here. Thank you for supporting the FantasyHolics Facebook page, the YouTube channels, Instagram, Twitter, all the platforms. We appreciate you guys getting on here and hanging out with us on Sunday mornings. It's definitely giving Brant and I a reason to not sleep in until football starts. So I want to say thank you to all of you. And I also want to throw a quick thank you out to the FantasyHolics Podcast Network for allowing us to do this. Definitely a great group of guys that Brant and I get to be a part of. From the graphics team with Jay to the godfather of the page, Jeremiah, to the guys behind the scenes, Patrick, Josh Rodriguez, and everybody in between. There's too many of them to name that go out there and put in work on this page. So I want to say from this half of the Fatboyz, thank you. I appreciate all of you on the FantasyHolics podcast team as well.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you very much. You guys make this a lot easier for us because neither one of us is very computer savvy. So you guys help us get everything linked all together so you make it easy for us. It's just a few click of the buttons. I appreciate it. All your guys' hard work on the page. I appreciate it. Happy New Year. And I hope you guys had a great fantasy football season. I know we got, a few more weeks left of football, but thanks everybody. Make sure you guys are, all of our listeners, make sure you guys are still tuning in. We do still have other daily stuff going on. I appreciate all the listeners. I appreciate all the hard work. Thank you guys. I hope you guys had a great year, and I look forward to working with you guys in 2024 as well.
Absolutely. And Brant, one last thing for me. We will be starting our off-season stuff with Dynasty here probably in the coming weeks, if not sooner, with these rookie previews and mock drafts and things like that. So definitely some things to get excited about for you and I. So definitely be tuning in for the dynasty stuff this offseason. We'll keep you guys right all offseason. That does it for me, Brant.
That's it. That's one of my favorite times, the offseason, doing some research, getting on the computer, watching film. So we definitely will be diving into these rookies. Dynasty is one of the greatest ways. I'm going to talk about it for a minute. Dynasty leagues, if you guys aren't in one, now's the time to really look into it. They're great to get into. They keep you involved year round, especially if you love fantasy football like you and me, Bo. But that's all I have. So as of right now, guys, this is us signing off for the year. As always, stay hungry.
Stay fat, my friends.